What's going on, guys? Coach Chris here with Forge Through Faith, here for another tips and tricks for open workout 22.2. Okay, so real quick review workout, reps 1 up to 10, pyramid at the top is at 10, then 9 down to 1, deadlifts and bar facing burpees. Okay, for our warm up, we're gonna really make sure that we gotta get nice and warm, being that essentially it's 200 reps of hinging, right? So you have 100 deadlifts, 100 bar facing burpees. I say 200 reps of hinging because it's essentially a very similar movement pattern. Okay, so we're gonna start with a 5-minute easy row, get the blood flowing. Then we're gonna go into soft tissue work. I don't always do soft tissue work in a warm up, but in a workout like this, we wanna make sure those muscle groups are loose, being that it's so many reps in the same movement pattern. So you're gonna wanna lacrosse ball your glutes, foam roll your low back, stretch out or mash out your hamstrings, and then your psoas muscles, kind of getting a kettlebell or something hard into your hips to kind of open those up, so that back and forth hinging motion is not a cumbersome motion. Next, you're going to go into 3 rounds, 5 seal stretches. So you're laying on your stomach, pushing yourself up into a seal, and you're going to take 3 deep belly breaths in that position, okay? Essentially getting your body used to having to breathe in an arch position. Obviously, we don't want to be in a full arch as we go through our burpees, but that'll kind of give you getting your body used to breathing through those positions. 10 alternating scorpion stretches, 10 dead bugs, 10 bird dogs. For the dead bugs and bird dogs, be very intentional on your positions, and moving slowly through those ranges of motion so you get your core and your posterior nice and warm. Then you're going to go into 3 rounds, a little more specific activation work here. You're going to do 8 to 10 low ring hamstring curls. So essentially the rings that we use for ring rows for class, lower them down so they're just slightly off the floor. Put your feet in them, bridge your butt off the floor, and pull your heels into your butt, okay? Almost like a hamstring curl you'd see at like a Globo gym somewhere. 10 single leg glute bridges per side, 10 Superman reps, 5 hand release push-ups, okay? And come on over here, a little more sport-specific warm-up. You're gonna wanna do 3 rounds at race pace. So essentially the pace you're gonna be holding for, I'd say, the vast majority of this workout. And I'm gonna get into pacing in a second here. So you're gonna do a 30-second row or bike. The reason why we're starting with this is to, again, simulate you having to pull or pick up the barbell and start to do your burpees at an elevated heart rate and elevated breath rate, okay? Going from, I'm completely fresh doing 5 deadlifts, 5 burpees, that's not gonna prep your CNS and prep your body for like the big chunk of that workout, the middle to the end of the workout where you're breathing real heavy, okay? So you're gonna wanna do 30 seconds on the row or the bike, increasing pace every 10 seconds until your last 10 seconds is about a 90% speed. Okay, so that's relatively fast. And again, that's to simulate you breathing heavy and being tired picking up the barbell. You'll then do 5 deadlifts. I would start below the weight you're gonna be using during the workout and then build up to the weight so your last set of that warm up is at the weight you're using for the workout. And then 5 bar facing burpees. You'll rest as needed between sets. So again, I want this to be relatively quick to prep your body for the workout, okay? Then you'll hit it. Strategies for it. If your engine is there, approach it like a 2K row. What do I mean by that? Well, essentially, depending on where your engine is and what level of athlete you are, from reps 1 to 4 or 1 to 5 or 1 to 6 on the front end, approach it like a 2K row. So if I'm coaching an athlete on a 2K row, I always tell them to pull the rower hard for usually anywhere from 7 to 12 seconds to really get the flywheel moving, settle into a pace for the vast majority of it, and then hammer it at the end. Depending on someone's capacity on the rower, hammer it in the last 200, 250, 300, whatever the case is, okay? So similarly on this, I'm gonna want someone who can handle it to go relatively quick on the front half. So let's say reps 1 through 5, just as an example. Settle into a pace from 6 up to 10, 10 down to 6, hammer the last 5 down to 1, okay? If you do that, reps 1 to 5, and then 5 to 1, from a pure rep perspective, only represents 20% of the workout. So it's really not that much work. And the vast chunk, the 80%, you're gonna wanna operate at a pace that allows you, obviously, to continue to move throughout the workout. You don't wanna get to a point where you're resting hands on your knees if you can avoid it, okay? With that being said, second point is don't come out too hot, okay? So if you've done CrossFit before, you know there's a fine line between going fast and going out too hot. So let's say your strategy is to go fast from 1 to 5 because you have the capacity to do it. You don't want a red line there. So again, maybe hovering at about a 90% speed, not 100% speed. I see 2 main approaches to this workout. Approach number 1 is to stay unbroken on the deadlifts and smooth on the burpees to recover. Approach number 2 is to break up the deadlifts, maybe starting at set 7 or 8, just as an example, and then steady speed on the burpees, moving quicker there than you would in the first strategy, okay? If you're someone who the deadlifts are super easy, then maybe you go for this one, and maybe burpees aren't as much of a strength for you. If you're someone who's super good at burpees and that burpee speed can be an advantage for you, then maybe go with this strategy. Okay. Something to consider though is breaking up the deadlifts is really not that big a deal. And the reason why I say that is because the cycle speed of the deadlift is so much faster than the cycle speed of the bar facing burpee. And so from an overall time perspective of the workout, you will spend more time doing burpees than you will doing deadlifts. So you're going to want to take the strategy that allows you to move at a relatively faster speed on the deadlifts than a slower speed. Okay, so keep that in mind when developing your strategy for this workout. The next one is transitions, transitions, transitions. There are so many transitions in this workout. And then I wrote Medeiros feet on here, and I'll show you what I mean by that when I demonstrate the bar facing burpees. But if you watch the open announcement, he would finish his last bar facing burpee, and as he landed, his feet were almost in the exact position he needed them to start his deadlifts, thus making his transition time much quicker. Second one is if you, or the bottom here is if you do break up the deadlifts, don't step away from the bar. Stand right next to the bar. A lot of people will start to wander. They'll step back, hands on their hips, hands on their knees. They're wandering around. It's 2 movements, and it's relatively simple in terms of what those movements are. Stay next to the barbell. That's always going to force you to pick it up sooner than if you're walking around. And the last thing before I go over some of the movements, cool down. When you are done with this workout, again, 100 deadlifts total, 100 bar facing burpees total, 200 reps of hinging total. Do your body a favor and cool down, okay? Hop on a bike, make sure you foam roll your posterior, stretch out, do the best you can to recover, okay? Contrary to last week I've said to people was a relatively easy workout to recover from just based on the movements and the load. This workout will be tougher to recover from. So if you plan on redoing, again, you're really going to have to focus on your recovery between attempts. And if you're someone who does not have to redo, don't get goaded into the ego and redoing this workout because, again, that's going to set you back for your training next week. Okay? Now, to look at the workouts or the movements a little bit. Right over here, I have a barbell set up. I'm not going to show the deadlift. If you've spent any time CrossFitting or really even just weightlifting in a gym, you've seen the deadlift before. The standards are in the standard sheet online. For the bar facing burpee, okay, you have the tape line. This tape line is relatively hard to see, but just to give you an idea, you're going to want to bring your chest and thighs to the floor. You're jumping over the bar. I recommend stepping up burpees on these. So what I like to do is hands go to the floor, feet go back. What I like to do is try to replace my hand with my foot. Okay, so I'll come up. I step 1 foot up. So I replaced my hand with this foot. This back foot now is going to do what I call close the gap. Okay, so if I theoretically replace my other hand, I still have a good distance to jump, right? So instead, I close the gap. I bring this up and kind of at an angle to the barbell. What's going to happen now is I'm going to jump over, and as I jump over, I'm going to turn a little bit, okay? If I'm going into my next burpee, this leg now does what I call a swing step. So I swing this leg back to initiate the next burpee to the floor. Now what I'll do and what I recommend is alternating sides. So what I mean by that is now I replace the hand with this right leg, close the gap with the left, and jump over to the other side. This is going to prevent you constant loading on one side of your body, which is going to further fatigue your back, okay? Last thing is I mentioned Medeiros' transitions. So he does his burpee down, right? He comes back up. If you watch the announcement, he jumps and essentially has his feet right here. He might have to take a step. He's actually even closer than where I landed. On your last rep, if you can turn and immediately pick up the bar, That's going to be more advantageous than jumping, taking steps here, taking a step forward, and pulling the bar. Okay? It might not seem like a lot, but let's say that's half a second, and you do that over the course of 20 transitions. That's 10 seconds in the workout that you've wasted, right? And so being able to be intentional about those transitions is going to be huge, okay? Again, if you like this video, subscribe in the YouTube channel, follow the Instagram page. We're going to be coming out with another one next week, so good luck on 22.2.